Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. We're the agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. With me today is an amazing guest I've known for years, and also a trust member on the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, Robert Ruano. Welcome, Robert.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for being here. And Robert,
be
you're,
here.
I know, representing District 6 on the trust, and we'll get into what District 6 is and some of the amazing things happening there or not happening there, as the case may be. And Robert, you're also, your day job is as president, CEO, founder, whatever title you want, of EcoStrata.
Chief bottle washer, I said.
Chief bottle washer of EcoStrata.
EcoStrata.
So let's start there. What is EcoStrata? What do you do?
Well, we do grants. We do grants in government affairs, essentially. We work with cities, nonprofits, and some private entities to help them get money for projects, either through federal, state, local grants, or through bid responses for some developers, and work with a lot of cities. Some right here.
So, like any particular subject areas, or just kind of cuts
everything.
across?
We have folks that deal with cultural affairs, arts. We do infrastructure, water, trees, everything they want. We can do it. I think so.
And you've been doing that now for what, roughly?
Well, the business is almost 14 years, but before that, that's where we met at the city of Miami. Yep. We did grants over there, so that was another almost 7 years. And I come from a nonprofit before that, so I had a little experience in a lot of different ones.
So at the city of Miami, and as you said, that's where we met. I know we were working on the city's bike master plan, which we'll talk about shortly.
Sure.
What was your role there?
I was director of grants and sustainable initiatives. So that's where we met.
That's right.
With the Bike Action Committee.
That's it.
Which I want to bring the picture today, but I forgot.
So what happened to the Bike Action Committee?
The Bike Action Committee was actually very successful because that was under Mayor Manny Diaz. And then from that, we did a bike action plan. Okay, which is very specific about things that needed to be done in the city of Miami, and then started doing those. And as we did those, we did a full master plan to look at the future. And then they started implementing that. Unfortunately, the mayor left, was termed out 2 years later. Some of the things kind of fell by the wayside, but some of them have been done. As you see, you were in the DDA, the downtown is totally different with a lot of bike lanes. So some things did get done.
Right, and so were you always into bikes, or is it as a result of that effort? Because now you've become a well-regarded, well-known bike advocate in our local community.
I guess I wasn't actually. I was kind of thrown into that. Mm-hmm. I hadn't actually, when I started, that was might have been 2007. I didn't even have a bike. So like on our first bike day, I borrowed a police bike, So I bought a bike.
Did it have sirens on it?
No, it didn't have sirens. They didn't have anything on it. It was just a police bike. So don't worry. I wasn't pulling people over. I had to buy a bike. And then it became something really important, not just because of bikes. And then I guess that's why it kind of led me to here, because of the mobility is a real issue. The traffic here has gotten worse and worse. It'll never get better, probably. But it's a very important mode of transportation and something that you go around the world and you go. I've been to Amsterdam, I've been to London, I've been to a lot of different places that have a real bike culture, and we don't. Well, we could, because we're very flat, and no
snow,
no snow, and but you'll hear a lot from politicians, particularly in my city. There's no right of way. There's no right of way for bike ped infrastructure and stuff. But what I tell them is the biggest impediment to bike fed infrastructure is not right of way, it's political will. Ultimately, that's what it is, because somebody comes out, a couple people come out, and you always get more people against something than people for something. I don't know if you've noticed that. So you get a lot of people against it, and then how has happened to me, they end up not doing anything. They pass plans and everything, bike ped plans, all sorts of plans, and then they sit on a shelf, unfortunately.
And it's not necessarily a funding issue, because compared to transit and even roadway projects, bike ped is fairly cheap,
it's not. It's
right?
not. Yeah, it's not a funding issue at all. It's a will issue. As a matter of fact, we keep and this is one of the things that I have to say for the record. When you're going to bring me on here, you said you were afraid of what I was going to say.
I was kidding.
No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You should be. So no, I wanted to air my grievances about some things here. So
We're celebrating Festivus today.
Festivus, yeah,
good.
yeah. So no, I was going to say yeah, a lot of times there are bike ped plans and then just sit on the shelf and nobody does anything with it. And unfortunately or fortunately, the CITT does fund some of those plans. One of the things that I'd like to be able to push in the future is that if the city can fund it with the surtax funds, if they have a record of paying for plans out of surtax funds and then not implementing anything, then why are we still paying for? Let them pay for the plan. We pay for the design. We pay for the construction. Let them pay for the plan, the design. Maybe we pay for the construction. I think it makes a lot more sense than just throwing money after money, because some politicians do it as a way to appease some of their pedestrian and bike-friendly folks.
Right.
Hey, we did this plan. Well, did you implement it? Right. So,
and just so everyone understands, so the cities get 20% of the half-penny funds that are collected in the county. They then have to use a portion of their funds for transit. The other portion can be used for other transportation projects,
right,
such as roadway projects, traffic circles, but also bicycle pedestrian infrastructure.
Right.
And the truth is, in the 20 years that we've collected the tax, very few have done that. And so I think both under your leadership, other members, and my own personal priorities are to get the cities to start spending more of their surtax funds on actual bike ped infrastructure.
Yes.
We've been encouraging that.
Yeah.
Can't force them to do it, at least not yet.
Right.
Speaking
of bike ped, tell me about your bike experience with your electric bike.
My electric bike, oh my gosh. So yeah, you said you were going to turn the tables on me. So I started getting into
people want to know
a little late as well.
The two people that are watching right now want to know.
It's a great story. So when I was at the DDA, no, not the DDA. When I got this job at the CITT, I promised the members I was going to ditch my car and take transit. And I did that, except that I couldn't get to the transit station without a car. The bus simply just took too long. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to start biking to the transit station. I was completely out of shape, much like I am today. And so I decided I'm going to buy an electric bike, just to kind of get started. And being cheap, I bought one made in China off of the internet. I don't even remember what it was called. It was a cheap electric folding bike. And it worked great for a number of months until one day crossing, I want to say 8th Street in Brickell, it decided to break right in the middle, right where the folding mechanism is, right in front of a bus about to barrel down.
Oh my God.
Would have made a great headline.
Wow, yeah. CITT owner gets run over by Metro bus.
While riding a bike.
Director, yeah, while riding a bike, yeah.
So, that bike was totaled. And then I thought, at this point, let me get a regular bike. And I did. And it was amazing.
You weren't really heavy, so it's not a weight issue. Like, someone could say that maybe you were heavy.
I lost 30 pounds.
And that's why you broke the bike. But, I don't want to say that.
Made in China. I will say this. I lost 30 pounds doing it, and I loved it. It was 10 miles in each direction. I did it every day of the week. I would shower and change at work, and it worked out great. Then the pandemic hit. Weren't going into work, and now the underline is under construction. That was my path. So I've gotten away from it. Not only did those 30 pounds came back.
Me too. My bike is sitting up on the wall. Hasn't been. Yeah.
So you want to lose weight? Bike to work.
Bike to work. Yeah. But you got karma because you bought an electric bike.
That's the problem with the electric bike.
No,
hey, listen, for some folks, I'd prefer you on an electric bike than in a car, quite honestly. So if that's what you want to do, great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disparage them like you are.
Not me. Not me.
All right, back to CITT. So you are representing District 6.
District 6.
You were appointed by Commissioner Cabrera.
Yes.
Tell us about District 6. What are some of the cities in the district? And
wow,
what's the city you live in particular?
I live in Coral Gables.
You referenced it without saying it. Okay.
I live in Coral Gables. Yeah. If you want me to reference it and all my grievances, I will. But no, I won't. I live in Coral Gables. But I think it's Coral Gables is a city, West Miami. I know it goes even up into Hialeah, Miami Springs. It crosses a river. It goes through the airport. It's a pretty wide Flagami. I'm not sure if it crosses the Palmetto. I'm sorry, I don't know the district. But I'll tell you, I take this and I'm thankful. I didn't know Commissioner Cabrera before he appointed me. I wasn't involved in his campaign. I wasn't really even involved. I wasn't involved in that campaign really at all. And I was fortunate that he appointed me. I think the first, which I appreciate. I think the only thing that he said to me when we met is, I just want you to make sure that none of the monies are used for maintenance,
Right.
which we have, and we have, and I said I completely agree with that, and yeah, and we're moving forward. I mean, and you take it. As I mentioned before, it's called the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. I take that very important because it really is independent. Like for me, when you serve on a board like this, it has to be about what you think as a resident.
Sure.
You know, you try to put on the hat of the people around you, your neighbors. It's like, does this make sense? Does this pass the smell test kind of thing? The good thing is, and I've had a little bit of experience in the past, I was on the Planning Advisory Board for almost 5 years. I was able to chair it. That was under Commissioner Suarez, Commissioner Suarez when he was there, which was a different district, ironically.
Okay.
But he knew I didn't live in his district, but he appointed me anyway.
Which you can do in that role. At the
In that
CITT,
role. At the
have to be
CITT,
a
you
resident
can't,
of
right,
the
at the CITT. But again, he never had a conversation with me. And actually, as a matter of fact, I really admire this about him, Commissioner Suarez, Xavier Suarez. It said that to someone that the last day he talks to somebody that he appoints is the day he appoints them on a board.
Okay.
Which I think is wonderful. I don't think, especially on this board, as an independent trust, you don't want a commissioner or commissioner's office calling that member saying, "Hey, vote on this, vote this, vote this, vote this way," because then it's not the
purpose
purpose
of an advisory board or the CIT.
Well, yeah, and this is more. I think this is more than an advisory board in a sense, because there is a trust there, and something that the people don't understand, because we're in the business kind of thing, in the government business, and everybody understands. Like you ask most people, "Who's your mayor?" Right? And they say, "Oh, I live in the city of Miami," but they live in unincorporated, Miami-Dade. And you say they live in Westchester, and you go, "Who's your mayor?" "Oh, Francis Suarez is my mayor." I'm like, "No, he's not. It's Daniela Ladamine Cava." So it's very important, and what people don't understand also is that we, or the CITT, don't actually do the projects either. Okay, it's the county Public Works that does the projects. Okay. This board just oversees it, monitors, reviews per the referendum, per the ordinance. So that's an interesting role, because we're not the ones that are doing it. We're overseeing it. Obviously, that can cause some friction sometimes, because the department might say, "Well, why are you here? I'm not I'm not a transit professional. Why are you here overlooking, looking over my shoulder?"
If we're not upsetting people, we're not doing our job.
Well, that too. Yeah, right. Well, we're here because voters passed a half penny sales tax. What, 20? How many?
2002.
2002. Yeah, 20 years, 21 years. Yeah. But that's also the reason why we're in the state that we are. That we built 2 miles of line when there should have been 30. Right. That's also the reason, because originally it was supposed to be a full penny. Right. But they didn't have the votes for that. Okay, I mean, I sat with a commissioner back then, probably 2001, who will remain nameless, that was pushing that. And he said, we wanted that full penny, that's what we needed, but we just didn't have the votes. We had to go to a half penny.
But we never scaled back on the promise.
Never
So
scaled
we had
back.
a penny's worth of promises.
Penny's worth of promises.
A half penny
Right.
that passed, and then 20% of that went to the cities.
Right.
To get their support.
Right. Yeah, it was doomed to fail from the start.
Yeah.
But one thing obviously there's been a lot of momentum since you've been there. I see a difference, right? Okay, the CITT has in the past sometimes been like it seems like it was almost under the mayor, right?
It literally was reporting to the county manager.
Right.
And then at some point that changed to where now I report to the trust members themselves.
And so now
reaffirming that independence.
Right. And I think that is better. Yeah. That's better for making sure that the promises are kept. Yeah.
And, I think we also have to give credit to the county and our transportation partners. So we have a TPO, who we haven't mentioned yet, Transportation Planning Organization, which has really been revitalized, I think, under their leadership, Eileen Bouclé, and really stepped up and has been pushing the SMART plan to really promote rapid transit throughout the county. So, we love their partnership and their leadership. And then the county itself, at the end of the day, bought into the SMART plan and has been trying to
Sure.
execute it. Challenging with limited funds, of course.
Well, you mentioned the TPO, and I wouldn't just stop there, because one of the things that's been really interesting lately is that, and both the BCC and our board too are really looking at transportation in the county of not just the regular routes, which is something actually, you know, to be honest, I was talking about at the planning advisory board when we were talking about the MDX. The MDX wanted that boondoggle
the Kendall Parkway.
836 extension. Yeah.
Oh, that.
Kendall
Yes.
Parkway.
Yeah.
Parkway. Yeah. Yeah. A big highway. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of concrete over
That's still
wetlands.
alive.
Hopefully it'll die. Hopefully our mayor will have the ability to kill that, or the courts will kill that. What I'm saying is that we're looking at the FEC lines, we're looking at the CSX lines, we're looking at other opportunities that are out there. I mean, these lines that are going down south are hardly used, and some are used, I think, twice a day. Like, why aren't we use this for commuter rails when they're not being used? You know, I think there's a big opportunity there. I know that the Tri-Rail is now going to go up. There's going to be the pieces going up north using the Brightline lines, right?
Well, potential. We're going to have commuter rail, hopefully,
right.
going up the line. It may or may not be Tri-Rail operating.
Oh, okay.
So that's to be determined.
Okay.
But Tri-Rail is coming to downtown, Miami Central, someday. Many years behind schedule, but they're actively working to get that done either at the end of this year or early next year, hopefully, knock on wood.
Right.
And that was an investment of the surtax and the half penny. So
Yeah. No, I think
it's a great
idea.
model. Let's take our existing infrastructure, upgrade it as necessary, and start running transit on it.
Right. And you know, you have a tough job, and the new county director has a tough job too, because look, let's be honest. If you look at it from the outside, from a business perspective, we made a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes at the county in terms of Metro Rail expansion. You know, so look at the Amtrak station. When was it built? 2016, 2018?
Yeah, the MIC, yeah.
Right. And what, that's 7 years? Probably, I don't know, $20 million to build that station? I don't know. I'm just guessing. You know, could be by the monies that we look at.
Several millions of dollars.
Several millions of dollars. And it hasn't been operational, right? And the public, and the public, maybe some of the public didn't know that right now, right? But they know. Now they know. And people get upset. Granted, people go, oh, people got to go to jail. People got to get fired. The reality is people did get fired. People do get fired all the time, you know, because they look at, you know, people can look at you and say, you know, oh, you're CITT. You're the problem. We didn't get the 25 lines. Or look at the department director now and go, oh, you're the problem. But the reality is there's been, you know, a lot of directors, a lot of, you know, CITT directors, a lot of department directors, some mayors. So the blame kind of goes all over the place, right? Yeah. I think that our opportunity and our charge, so to speak, is to first, a couple things, is to make sure that we don't use maintenance. We don't use surtax dollars for maintenance, okay? Second is that we do more about first and last mile connections to the Metro Rail stops,
right.
Okay? You gotta, you know, this whole idea of park and ride, yeah, I see you have to do it, right? But the successful mass transit are the ones that people walk a couple blocks, you know, or take a bike or whatever. We need to really push on that. We need to really, the county's done a nice job, and I'll give credit to Commissioner Regalado, has really pushed the transit development zone.
Right. Rapid transit zones.
Yeah, the rapid transit zone, sorry. So I think that's a step in the right direction. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do more. I mean, in addition, the other big area is that the promises that are made to the public really come through. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about BRT, right? Yeah. So, bus rapid transit, Homestead. Everybody wanted, and I think it's in the referendum that there would be a rail to Homestead, right?
So in the referendum, they talked about Metro Rail extension.
Metro Rail extension. So there was this big back and forth, and now we got bus rapid transit. Right. All these shiny new stations are happening, and the whole thing. Okay, this was the kind of the concession, right?
Right. And to be clear, what was promised then was gold standard bus rapid transit.
Gold standard.
That was clear.
Yeah, that's the problem with not being very specific, right? Mm-hmm. because, so for example, gold standard, and I had to learn a little bit about this. You know, the gold standard, I forget the agency that does that standard for BRT.
Institute for something or other.
Right.
I forget it too.
It's very similar to like, and I just happen to be a lead AP, right? So it's very similar to USGBC, the U.S. Green Building Council's, you know, lead rating system. So you could get lead silver, for example, in some cases, but then take out something that's really important to people, but you made all the points. You still made the points, the silver points, but you took out something really crucial that people wanted, but you got there a different way, right? And what it seems like, no, it doesn't seem like, I don't want to say that because I don't know. We're still waiting on a report, I guess, this month that's going to come to the CITT.
In October, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
So we asked in July, right?
Yeah. In fairness to the department, they said they could bring it to us in September, but because a critical member who represents that district won't be here, we're doing it in October.
Okay.
So,
all right. So
it's not the department's fault.
Let the record show that we asked in July.
I want to be fair.
August, September, October. We'll find out. Okay. Well, let's see. So the problem is, through a different source, I found out that the bus rapid transit up and down that the South Dade busway will not have preemptive signalization all the time. And this is what they told us. And this may come back, but at the last meeting that we went to and we asked this question, they said that it would only be preemptive signalization so that the buses do not have to stop for the lights on the northbound lanes in the rush hour in the morning, right? And the southbound lanes in the rush hour in the evening. Now that is
just a few hours a day.
And a few hours in one direction.
Right.
Okay. And we push back on that, and hopefully they'll change that because that's ridiculous. That cannot happen. Okay. And if it's FDOT that's stopping them, well, then, you know, the county, the CITT, somebody needs to talk to FDOT. But ultimately, you know, the person that's at the Metro Rail station, the Dadeland South station that has a job in Homestead has to be able to get there in the same amount of time that the person that lives in Homestead and works at Dadeland. Yeah. You know, that's not equity. That's not equal.
Oh, and this was sold as an equivalent to Metrorail. Well, Metrorail doesn't just run, you know, unabated for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. I mean, so if it's going to be the equivalent to Metrorail, we have to have that preemption throughout the day.
Exactly. So,
well, tune in to our meeting in October, folks, and we'll see what they present.
Yeah. We don't have anything controversial. Anything else controversial to talk about?
Buddy, it's your interview.
My interview? I don't have
I want to let you do it.
No.
So
let's find out more about you.
No. Let's go back to the Gables. So what are some of the specific projects? I know you were the founder.
I was one of the co-founders.
The chair of Bike Walk Coral Gables. Yeah. What did you do in that organization? And
what
are some of the things you think the city of Coral Gables should be doing?
Oh, good question. So we I never got involved, and I never, when I worked at the city of Miami, when you were at the DDA, I never got involved in Gables stuff because I worked in another city, you know, kind of. So, but yeah, once I left the city, I was with a group. We started trying to do, actually Commissioner Ralph Cabrera at the time, pushed to have like a committee to get advice about bike ped improvements and such. And what we found out very early on, we made a decision that people weren't going to take us seriously unless we did something, right? And so we started doing a series of events. We started doing bike tours. Monthly bike tours are still going on. They're at the Gables Museum. They're the third Sunday of every month at 10 o'clock. You know, I'm not involved with them, so I'm, you know, it's a nonprofit, but free plug to them. So we did that. We did Gables Bike Day for like 8 years, where we closed down Miracle Mile, Ponds, then we closed out in front of City Hall. Great event. I got disenchanted with them back in 2020, not with the group, with our commission at the time and our current mayor, actually. Because after years of doing the same thing I was talking about, the Gables did a bike ped plan in 2004, right? They did a bike ped plan in 2014, right? Have they implemented anything from any of those bike ped plans? No. So why are we spending tens of thousands of dollars? And then they passed it unanimously. They accepted the plan unanimously. But then anytime one of those projects came up, and it happened 3 different times from like 2014 to 2020, anytime one of those projects or a concept came up, the little, NIMBY community would come out and complain, and then the commission would go, "Oh no, we're not going to do this. Let's pass the ball." And the I think the what do you call it? El colmo. How do you say colmo in English? Anybody know?
Direct translation. Sometimes it's better just to say
last,
it in native
the
language.
last drop, the
Right.
last straw.
The last straw. There we go.
The last straw. That's el colmo, right? The last straw is when they had a simple, I thought it was simple. It was sidewalks and a
Bike lane.
bike. Yeah, because it was changing, but bike lane on Alhambra, and people came out and complained, and they just scrapped the project. And granted, I at the time was like, look, it's not really about the bike lane, because Alhambra, yeah, it's great, but there's a sidewalk, and if you go there now on the west side of Alhambra, past by the Biltmore where there's a canal, there's 5 houses that don't have sidewalks. Okay, and they've been there like that without sidewalks for, more than 20 years. If you complete those 5 houses, you go all the way, you do a sidewalk network all the way back to 37th Avenue, okay? All the way all around Alhambra. But the city, in its wisdom, has done nothing. And now the latest plan, supported by our mayor, is that because a couple people didn't want a sidewalk close to their house, they're gonna build a sidewalk on the outside of the tree, against the road, with a curb, where it doesn't have one on that area, because and people actually said this, is like, no, I'll take a sidewalk, but I don't want it up against here. I want it, because it's going to hurt the trees. So I want it over there, which won't hurt the trees. Like, in what world do we ask residents, where do you want this sidewalk? Do you want it to where it goes against your property line, or do you want it over there so your yard looks a lot bigger? And that's the attitude. That's the attitude that's happening there. And so, to make a long story short, I was not happy with them, and I'm advocating, for stuff there, like those sidewalks, other things, bike ped improvements. But like, it goes back to what I said before. It's all political will,
It's a shame. It's such a beautiful city with tree canopy that keeps you shaded as a cyclist. So I would cut through the city on my way to work. I live just west of Coral Gables,
Right.
and I was working east. So, I bike through the city all the time.
Right.
And I would agree. It desperately needs protected bicycle infrastructure. There's no reason why it shouldn't. It's got multiple metro rail stations that you can connect to. And there's room, in the right of way.
Speaking of, one thing I do want to mention, going back to plans, the TPO commissioned another plan of US 1, even though a plan had been done like 3 years ago. Another plan of US 1 that did US 1 where Coral Gables is, right?
Okay.
In their plan, they mentioned Ponce de Leon as a great corridor, very simple corridor to connect to the Metro Rail and to downtown US 1.
It would be.
Okay?
Just as the trolley does. So you could complement that with
Of course.
bike
The
infrastructure.
2014 plan had those. If you go down Ponce, there's no driveways. If you move those cars over one, you've got a protected bike lane, and you did it with paint, right? The 2014 plan that Gables did had the same corridor, okay? So I think the 2004 did too. So you mentioned the same corridor. This last plan was commissioned or asked for by our mayor, and it mentions that corridor. Do you think they're going to do anything about that corridor? What do you think?
I will not opine.
You will not opine? That's a good word. They won't.
Yeah.
They won't. I'd be surprised if they do. I'd challenge our city to do something there. But there's a bad mentality about cyclists and people that cycle for transportation. There's a mentality, we don't want those people coming through our city. It's like, what do you mean? You got people coming through your city all the time. Would you rather they come through in cars or in bicycles? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, those people are people like me, just trying to get to work.
Yeah, people on
what?
cheap
That's a
Chinese
bad example.
bikes.
I wouldn't want me biking through my community either.
People on cheap Chinese bikes.
Oh gosh, so you have strong opinions, which is awesome. That's what we
I
want
do?
on the
I do?
CITT.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
No, I appreciate it. And actually, it's a good time to let our viewers know that we do have 4 vacancies on the trust. It's a great opportunity to serve, to get involved, and be knowledgeable about all the transportation projects taking place in our community. So if you're interested in applying to be a trust member, please visit our website, miamidade.gov/CITT. And we have just a few seconds or a few minutes left. Anything else you'd like to chat
No,
about?
I just want to say thank you. This was fun.
For a moment there, I thought you were going to toss your hat in a ring and announce you were running for public office. Maybe someday in the future.
Oh, actually, no, I don't know. No, don't do that. But I actually am. I should tell you, before the 10 days, I am considering. I'll put it in writing, of self-nominating myself for the first vice chair on the CITT. Since we can't
Fantastic.
talk to each other, like I don't know if anybody wants to nominate me. If you're listening, you can.
Yes, our officer elections are coming up at our next meeting, and we have many great candidates, and I suppose you'll be one of them as well. So, sir, we're all out of time.
Thank you very
much. I want to thank
appreciate
you
your time.
for appearing on the show, and thank you for everything you do
Thank you.
to help move people around our wonderful county. That's all the time we have today, but you could join us here every other Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. here on Mobility Matters. We want to thank our producers and our host in this fabulous location, Community Newspapers, for their ongoing partnership. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. Take care.